Karibu tena mtazamaji, unatazama kipindi cha Kenya's Gold, kipindi ambacho kinakufahamisha mengi sana kuhusiana na masuala ya ukulima, hasa ukulima biashara. Hapa tutazungumzia sana namna wewe unatoka katika shamba kuelekea hadi sokoni.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. We want to now get into the finer details of the state of macadamia farming in Kenya. And to help us with that, we are joined by our expert of the day, Mr. Charles Muigai, who is the CEO and founder of Mazao Pesa. And also you do have a lot of expertise in the agricultural sector, especially the macadamia space. Thank you so very much for making time to be with us today. Now, if we just start the conversation, one of the very many hats that you wear is you sit in the board of World Macadamia Organization. Please do help us understand what are some of the initiatives you're putting in place to put Kenya on the map globally as good producers of macadamia.
Thank you very much, Violeta. Thank you, Terrell, for inviting me to this show to kind of give an analysis and perspectives around macadamia grown in Kenya and macadamia in the global perspective. I have been sitting in the World Macadamia Organization board for the last 4 years. And the major aim of WMO is to accelerate the generic marketing of macadamia, one unified commodity called macadamia, to the global market. So it is origin agnostic. It does not promote any single country origin. It promotes the generic commodity called macadamia that is consumed across the world. So the major work for WMO is demand generation. Right. And once that demand is generated, it's up for the country members to be able now to compete on that platform that the market has been opened, the market has been sensitized, and then it's for them to come and plug into the global demand. Yes.
All right.
Sawa. Vile wakati unaketi kule, sasa hivi umeona Ngina kwenye kiwambo hapo, ameeleza sana tuna matumaini kwamba mwaka 2027 tutakuwepo na kuzalisha tani 63,000. Lakini bado kuna atiati kwa masuala ya bei ya macadamia. Nini inaathiri bei yake?
Asante Terrell. Vile tunataka kuangalia kwa hii maneno ni kuwa na ufahamu wa kwamba macadamia ni commodity. Na commodity inapanda bei kila wakati na inashuka wakati mwingine. Macadamia ilipanda bei kutoka mwaka wa 2010 ikapanda mpaka 2019, just before COVID. Na ilipofika hapo bei ilikuwa ya juu sana, na consumer wengi kule soko za ughaibuni hawakuwa wana afford kununua hiyo. Sasa nayo COVID ikaingia wakati ule. Sasa bei ikateremka. Na mtujue kwamba macadamia sio budget shopping. It's not in the budget shopping list. Ni ya mtu mwenye ako na disposable income na mtu mwenye anaweza inunua. Kwa mfano, ukiangalia kilo moja inaweza toka 5,000 ikiwa imetengenezwa, imewekwa kwa paketi yake na iko tayari kwa kutumia. Ile value added final product, because it has so many people along the chain, because there will be a margin for the farmer, there will be a margin for the processor, margin for the for the guys who do packing and value addition, there will be margin for the supermarkets, you know. So if you look at that continuum of value addition and value share, it makes the final product very expensive. What would I want to say about this? Commodity mzuri yenye inaweza stahimili wakati wowote ni ile itakuwa na bei yenye haiendi juu sana. Kwa sababu ikienda juu sana, mwamko wa bei ni kusema kwamba itafika mahali ikomeshwe na iambiwe sasa soko inasema haiwezekani. Na inaenda vile kama vile magari zinafuatana. Ukiona magari ziko kwa foreni, kuna accident pale mbele, gari moja ina create jam, inarudi. So hii bei ya macadamia ni jam ilikreatiwa pale kwa sababu bei ilikuwa juu sana. Wanunuzi wakashindwa kununua. Right. Lakini bei ikikuwa kwa wakati ustahimilivu mzuri katikati pale, inaweza kuwa mzuri na wakulima na wenye kutumia kule mwisho ya soko, the consumers, wanaweza kutumia. Lakini ikienda sana wanatumia alafu wanarudi nyuma, inaathiri hata mkulima. So the stability of the price is very, very important from the farmer to the consumer.
Now let us talk about the recent policy shift where we can now export macadamia nut in shell. It has caused various reactions from different people, because there are others who, yes, they're happy, they can now export their macadamia unprocessed, But now there's another big chunk that believes in the long run this has more side effects. What are your opinions on that?
Violet, I would want to look at it from a very balanced perspective, with the word sustainability as the operative word here. And if you look at South Africa and Australia, they have a binary system whereby they have both, almost 50-50. They have the in-shell market, 50%, and they have the kernel market. We call the processed one the kernel market. And to me, I look at it from the point it has a stabilizing effect to those origins. If you look at Kenya, again, I would want to look at it from the point of it is neither this is good or this is bad. It's a question of creating what is the competitive and stable factor that will be able to accommodate both. Because in my view, if you're going to 63,000 metric tons, 100,000 metric tons, we really have enough processing capacity in tandem to that. And we'll discuss now the issues and the complexities about processing and, what we call the capacity to process the volume. So what I would look at is that we look at issues like if we were to go the issue of export of in-shell and processed macadamia, there are several things that we can introduce. We can introduce things like export tax, right? Those who are selling raw commodity, they can pay some tax that can be plowed back to the industry, to the grafting that you're talking about, so that we can multiply the crop. We could also have a quota system. We say X percentage is the only eligible volume that can be exported and processed. So there are a raft of measures that the government can use to stabilize the industry rather than to say this is better than this.
Right.
Because either of the two will not land on the sustainability that we are looking for if we were to look at the binary in terms of bias to this or the other.
Just to follow up on that, are those conversations that you have already presented to the table and it's being considered? And then again, also, since we have had a look at the countries that we are exporting to, maybe you can guide us to know which countries are we exporting the processed macadamia and which ones are taking our macadamia unprocessed, so that we also see how we are balancing as a country when it comes to both.
That's a very important question, Violeta, because if you look at it, is that the kernel market, Kenya has been the leader in the kernel market in the US especially. Because, as I have said, the binary system in Australia and South Africa, whereby they are splitting the products to two markets. But Kenya has, the last 10 years, since 2009 until the last season, when the minister gave a window for export of in-shell, the country was 100% kernel. And we were commanding the US market. Kenya was one of the major guys doing that. Also in Europe. But again, I want to look at it from the point whereby the kernel goes to the US and Europe majorly. Then we have Japan as well. Those are the three major consumers. But China, interestingly, is emerging as one of the biggest kernel buyers. And very interesting. They are now the biggest in-shell, but I think because of the young people, the demographics in that country, young people are now consuming macadamia differently than the usual socket macadamia. The macadamia you can see, it has an incision at the center, and then you open. You know, it's kind of roasted within the shell. But now they are moving now to what we know, or what the conventional or the Western world uses. Right. So, and China now is taking a lot of it. So I could look into the future that there is a huge divide between the two, and the both options, I think, in the future are sustainable.
Right.
And I think Kenya should go for a binary.
Sawa. Kuna hatari ambayo itajitokeza, tutazungumzia hiyo kuteremka kwa taifa la Kenya wakati ilikuwa imeshikilia, lakini inaonekana kuteremka. Mtazamaji, tukirejea basi itakuwa ni radhi usalie nasi, kwa sababu hapa tutafahamishwa mengi sana kuhusiana na makadamia taifa la Kenya na vile vile katika mataifa na soko la kimataifa. Tuende katika mapumziko kidogo.